Back at it again, and we've got we got an absolutely hilarious video here, right? So, throughout this journey thus far, I've learned that, obviously the left controls most of the media, mainstream media, obviously. And they are in cahoots with, a lot of big time celebrities and things like that. Obviously, there was just recently the I think Hillary and Kim Kardashian were pictured together and stuff like that. They're in with Hollywood and that sort of thing. So they're in the culture or whatever you want to call it. And recently, Nancy Pelosi thought that she had one. And somebody brought her out on stage, and I want you guys to hear what happens when the crowd sees Nancy Pelosi. With that being said, make sure you guys hit that like button. Really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button as well. All right. And please help me share these videos across all social media platforms. I would greatly appreciate it. All right. And with that being said, let's dive in.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi receiving an interesting greeting in New York City as she makes a surprise appearance at a music festival.
Nancy Pelosi.
As you can see there was some boos. An interesting...
And that's in New York City, right? New York City. And second, that one didn't even sound that bad, honestly. I mean, that didn't sound terrible. The clip that I've seen, or the clips that I've seen, because I've seen just like a, short clips of this little incident right here. But there were clear boos. I mean, boo type situation. And look at her face. Like, ooh, I did not expect that. I thought I was cool. I thought I was like Hillary and carrying hot sauce in my purse.
Welcome in liberal New York City. Pelosi is really gearing up for the midterms. She's one of the first guests on the new show on Hulu, Power Trip. She showed off her fitness with a brisk walk with George Stephanopoulos, talking about how Republicans are going to destroy democracy if the power goes to the GOP in November.
Midterm our democracy, as you see, because they are nullifying elections, and that's part of their agenda. The fate of the planet, which they are in denial. They're still anti-science and anti-governance to do anything about it.
It's interesting she says anti-science. So what happens to the science about babies? I mean, that kind of goes out the window. Anyway, I think Republicans need to try to do more stuff like this, obviously. And once again, I'm still new to all of this, but from what I've seen, the left and, leftist politicians do more stuff like this. And obviously, like I said earlier, the left controls most of the media. So it's easier for them to pull stuff off like this. But I still think Republicans should at least attempt to, get on shows that are on Hulu or shows that are on Netflix and do what Nancy is doing. Maybe not necessarily what she's doing, because she's just trying to fearmonger, but make sure people understand the real situation, right? Explain it to folks, because a lot of people are just like in the dark. They just see little clips, like the video that we checked out yesterday of why people made the decisions that they made in 2020. They had no clue. They were like, I don't even follow politics, but I just wanted the orange man out. Well, how would you have wanted the orange man out? My assumption is that mainstream media thought for them. They saw, a few clips here or there and ran with it. So, I mean, even if it's just like a few clips here or there for, Republicans, I think it could be beneficial. But that's just my humble opinion. And maybe I'm just missing the clips, on TV shows like Hulu or, clips with celebrities, because unfortunately celebrities influence a lot of folks. I mean, that's just the truth. Unfortunately, a lot of people follow, these big time celebrities and like the Kardashians. People watch the Kardashians more than they pay attention to politics, which is kind of weird, when you really think about it. But hey, to each his own, I guess. So I think it's important to, get in with some celebrities, but maybe I'm wrong. Y'all let me know in the comment section. And I don't mean, when I say get in, I don't mean like kissing behind or anything like that, but make yourself seen with, certain celebrities and on certain shows and things of that nature. But y'all can let me know how y'all feel. Maybe I'm completely wrong.
A pinnacle of fitness there. In the meantime, Republican leaders making the rounds on Sunday shows, touting their new plan for change. Here's Congresswoman and GOP Conference Chair Elise Stefanik earlier today on Fox News Sunday.
Not only are we going to earn back the House, but we're going to earn back the Senate as well. And we will send every bit of legislation that we promised to the president's desk. And it's up to Joe Biden whether he works with us or whether he will play politics and veto these important bills to rein in inflation, to support law enforcement to make sure we have a safe country, and to secure the border, which is in free fall under Biden's amnesty policies.
And many registered Democrats.
And Republicans have to play the political game, so to speak, when he does. The one thing that like I said, I'm still new, so forgive me if you completely disagree on this, but the one thing that I've noticed and have been seeing is that whenever something happens that Republicans do, Democrats are good at getting behind a camera, or in front of a camera, I should say, and fear-mongering folks and exaggerating things and crazy stuff like that. And I'm not saying that Republicans have to do that, but when they put forth legislation to truly help America, right? And they put it in front of Joe Biden's desk, the moment that he says no, Republicans should be in front of every single camera they can get in front of and let the American public know this is the guy who does not care about your safety. This is the guy that doesn't care about your livelihood. You know what I mean? They should let the it shouldn't just be like a hush, sweep it under the rug. Oh, well, he just vetoed it, whatever. And they just kind of mention it here or there. They should be on every TV show that they can get on every social media page that they have and can get access to, everywhere. And state exactly how their policy would have helped. And make sure that people know, hey, he didn't want to help you guys. We put it on his desk. He didn't want to do it. Because that's what Democrats would do. We've watched them do it. We've literally watched them do it. So, and that's how they brainwash some folks. Unfortunately, because not only do they do that, but they lie when they do it. Or they over-exaggerate and fear-monger and things like that. And I'm not saying, and once again, I'm not saying Republicans have to stoop to that level, but they do have to let the mainstream public or the public at large know about the entire situation. But anyway, let's continue.
Democrats are fed up with what they call the radical left and switching parties. One switched to Republican, telling the New York Post, quote, "The reason I registered as a Republican has more to do with the Democrats than it does with the Republicans. I still consider myself liberal in a lot of ways, but I'm no longer registered Democrat. They've just really gone off the rails this past several years." I would agree with that person, Guy.
Once again, I didn't leave the left. The left left me. We've seen that time and time again on social media. I think that was trending for a while, too.
There's a poll here that just shows where the GOP is on the issues. Mm-hmm. And they're really leading. I think we've got the poll we can show here. It just shows the GOP is plus 5 on the generic ballot among likely voters, plus 21 in swing districts. But that, if you go back to that
plus 5 on a generic, plus 21 in swing districts, plus 19 on inflation, plus 16 on the economy. Man, the economy should be like plus 100. I mean, like, what are we talking about here? It shouldn't even be close. And on crime, that should be close to 100 too. Sheesh Louise.
Well, what they're saying is it's not about the Republicans' position, maybe not this new contract, this promise to America. I can't remember what it's called. Commitment to America. Maybe all of that doesn't really matter. Maybe they really just need to continue to point out that liberals are kind of radical.
And also just look around. How's your family doing? How's your bank account doing? And Speaker Pelosi can huff and puff.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
on her walk with George Stephanopoulos and talk about how democracy could die and the fate of the planet is at stake in a midterm election, right? Just like this very over-the-top, I think, rhetoric from her. And most voters look at that and say, it's a bit much. And we put the graphic up for the Republicans. This is a brand new Washington Post, ABC News poll out today. For Republicans to be up 5 on the generic ballot among likely voters is a big deal. In the swing districts, up 21 points. And on the number one issue, the economy, Republicans are up 16 points, up 14 on crime. These are the bread and butter law and order issues that people care about the most. And I think a lot of the noise that you're hearing from the Democrats is sort of their admission tacitly that they know they're in some trouble. So they're throwing these flares out there, distractions to try to get people scared, try to motivate their folks. But I think ultimately it comes down to inflation, the economy, the Republicans. I mean, you can see the numbers on the screen. Those are striking.
Alicia, the guy's point, the Democrats' messaging right now is not look how good we are with our issues. It is that MAGA is extremism. That's the first point they have. The next point they have is that basically what they're trying to say is that climate change is the root to all evil. And that's, I guess, the most policy-based point they have. And then from there, they're trying to tell you that, hey, what you think is happening isn't actually happening. Inflation isn't up that much, or what's happening at the border. They only are going to address the border if they address what Governors Abbott and DeSantis have done by moving migrants from Texas and Florida. It seems like they really don't have that issue platform to sell in the midterms.
No, and it really is, they're really in a spot. And when you showed that quote from that voter who switched over, who said they still consider themselves quite liberal, however, they felt like they were now more of a Republican. I can tell you from talking to voters out there in the middle of the country, in the southern part of the country, definitely, when I say South, I don't mean like your South, I mean like Texas and southern Arizona. There are so many voters out there who feel like the Democratic Party has gone to the left to such an extreme, and these are lifelong Democrats who now say they are changing. And it's a case in point, Latino voters. They are constantly telling us over and over again that things have changed so much, but they haven't. The party has changed. And so I think the responsibility for Republicans right now from a strategic standpoint is to keep the focus and the collective discipline on the economy and on crime. And if they can do that, then they have a path.
I think McCarthy would agree with you, and that's why they rolled out this commitment the way they did. I think, Laura, it's just funny. I mean, Nancy Pelosi being booed in New York City. We're in New York City.
Wow.
These people care about the crazy things she pushes. What does that say for where Democrat leadership is?
Well, I can't think of a bigger buzzkill at a concert than inviting Nancy Pelosi on stage. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's another thing, too. Why is she even there anyway? But once again, I feel like the left has always been in cahoots with, like, the celebrities and, like, the popular figures amongst us, right? You see time and time again, celebrities endorsing people on the left. I might make a video on that. Like, how many celebrities have actually endorsed someone on the right publicly? How many big celebrities? I might need to make a video on that. I think that'd be an interesting video, just to see the comparison.
Who had that grand idea, but obviously I don't think it worked out quite like she expected it to. But that was the first thing I thought whenever I heard this is this is liberal New York City. These are her people. And the fact that Nancy Pelosi did not walk out and it was just full applause and people are just going crazy for her in a positive way, maybe it tells you that the younger generation, perhaps, I don't know, maybe they're realizing all of this spending out of control one day is going to fall in their lap. Maybe they just didn't want their concert ruined by Nancy Pelosi. But I do think that it is a sign that perhaps people are waking up around the country. Perhaps people are getting the bigger picture. We, have all commented on the Democrat turn Republican. Alicia, what you said, I think, is exactly right. And I've heard it time and time again to many people across the country. I haven't left the Democratic Party. They left me. And I think that people are feeling like that across the board. And Guy, like you said, if your life isn't as rosy, sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows as the Democrats are painting it, perhaps you might want to try something different.
Well, Laura, on that topic, and Guy,
what do you have to lose?
I'll let you respond to this. Here's another Democratic voter. This is another quote. Looking back at the Democrat Party in the 80s and 90s, I think I probably would have been a Democrat. Today, I find myself in the disaffected center. I take some ideas from the left, some ideas from the right, but I don't feel like I identify with any tribe. And that last quote talked about how they identified as a liberal, but not a Democrat. Just how far has this party gone from what would be its base?
I think that there are a number of people who feel sort of politically homeless in this very tribal area. People who might traditionally be a little bit more left-leaning, maybe socially liberal on some things, but then they look around at their tribe, perhaps, and they see some of the really out of control sort of woke enforcement, right, where you must say everything exactly correctly or it's a hate crime or whatever, and they're not into that. And so I think some of that is driving people away from that coalition. And quickly, Laura, I think with Pelosi getting booed, my take is a little more cynical. I agree most people who booed probably just wanted the music to resume and not some political speech.
Not being lectured to by Nancy.
But I also think in New York City, thousands of people have gone and protested Chuck Schumer at his house in Brooklyn because they're not radical enough. I think some of the boos might have come from left-wingers being like, oh, she's a corporate moderate Democrat, and that's sort of the squad mentality. Another point I think that the Democrats are going to be wrestling with for quite a while here, and might drive a few more people out of their coalition if they get further dragged toward the squad.
I think that's the point to be made here. You know, in 2016, Alicia, President Trump saw a lane, candidate Trump at the time, which was this America first, bring jobs back to America, secure the border, not necessarily specific to the Republican Party, more so kitchen table ideas that people, hey, I would love for my job to come back. I don't want my replacement to train me to send my job overseas. If the Democrats have any version of that, it's woke, it's identity and climate. And I just don't feel like that's going to resonate. And I think that's really what we've talked about this whole block.
Well, and you also have millions and millions of parents who are so upset about what they saw during the COVID lockdowns and what they are still continuing to see with regard to education. We were talking about this yesterday. This is such an important issue for people out there because it's so troubling that the parents out there are feeling like they're not in control anymore, and it's their own kids' education.
Absolutely. Laura, last word. I mean, kids kind of are the most important thing in our lives when we're parents, aren't they?
It is the end-all, be-all. It is our most important thing as a parent. It's the most important thing for the future of our country. This is our next generation. And I think, Alicia, you're right. Parents don't like being told that they're domestic terrorists for going to a school board meeting and voicing their opinion. Obviously, the goal of that was to get everybody to sit down and shut up and don't step out of line. But I think they're going to make their voices heard on November 8th.
And one very quick cautionary note. It's not like the Republican Party's numbers are glittering right now.
Exactly.
Right? People are not happy with the Democrats, but it's not like they are racing to the Republicans like, oh, yes, we love these
we got to
people.
go on this block. We'll get to talk about that more later, I think.
Hey, once again, Republicans cannot fumble this right now. They cannot fumble it. And once again, I'll propose the question to you, and I'll end it with this. How do you guys think the right can knock this one out of the park? To the point where for the next 100 years, all of these independents who feel like they didn't leave the left left them, and now they feel politically homeless, all of those folks will vote Republican. What do you guys think Republicans should be doing, should be saying? What type of policies should they put forth? What type of things should they be doing? What type of TV shows should they try to get on? Let me know the strategy that you guys think they should have going forth during this time right now, especially leading up to midterms. Talk to me in the comment section below. I would really be interested to hear your thoughts and your opinions on that because, like I said, I do believe this is a very, very unique opportunity here. Peace and love, family. Y'all stay safe out there. I'm out.